Ask yourself, why are your goods or services priced the way they are? In our interconnected world, customers have the chance to thoroughly research before they buy a product. They can spend hours doing price comparisons or watching unboxing videos on YouTube and reading customer reviews. A study from Google states that 59% of customers shop around the internet to find the best price out there and buy it from that website. So if price is such an important factor for customers to choose your services or your goods, it is necessary to study in detail how to offer your products at the right price. And that's where dynamic pricing comes in. With dynamic pricing, you can offer the best price at the right time for your customers. In today's Tech Update, we'll talk about dynamic pricing. Dynamic pricing is the science of continuously adjusting your prices in order to achieve the highest profit. And those prices can depend on time, location, scarcity, or even the day of the week. The goal is to find a perfect balance between the price and the number of sold items. Let's take a look how you can start pricing your products dynamically. There's 3 stages. The first stage is to find the optimal price for your goods or service. This is done by executing a pricing experiment. Here you give your customers a different set of prices for the very same goods or service. Now you can calculate the profits that you get from each different price. If you were to draw a function through the profits per price, you should see a parabolic function. And at the very top of that parabolic function, you should find the optimal price for your good or service. Now we may have an optimal price, but this experiment was executed in a trial period. So it may be that in a few hours or days or weeks, this optimal price changes again due to external factors. And this is where the dynamic aspect of dynamic pricing comes in. So now we have one optimal price. The second stage is to gather more data. Chances are, when you're just starting out with dynamic pricing, you don't really know the motivation that your customers have to choose your product or service. And you don't know about any external factors that influence this motivation. In order to get more info, we need to start gathering more data and create a list of metrics we think that might influence the motivation of our customer. Now we can start experimenting like in stage 1. With a predefined set of prices, while keeping track of a list of metrics we think will influence the buying decision of our customers. These metrics can be time of the day of the week, location, competitor prices, or even the weather. The third stage is to become more proactive. If you have gathered enough data, you can start looking for correlations between the metrics you put up and the buying decisions of your customers. The metrics with high correlations with the buying decisions are good indicators for the factors of motivation. With the right buyer data and the right metrics, you can start predicting demand. Combining all the important metrics in an AI model, you can predict the buying decisions of your customers. With this predicted demand, you can calculate and offer the optimal prices for in the future, instead of analyzing it from a time period that has already passed. Now you're ahead of the sales and you can start offering better prices and reaching higher profits. So that was the theory of dynamic pricing, but let's take a look how it's used in the real world. I'll take you through 3 applications. The first application is also the most widely known. It is the airline and the hospitality industry. Both have been practicing dynamic pricing since the 80s, quite notoriously. For example, if a seat on a flight is not sold before takeoff, there will be no revenue. That is why airliners try to really optimize every seat that is sold on the plane, and almost no one in the entire plane pays the same price. If a hotel room isn't booked for a night, then that night can never be sold again in the future. Hotels used to only fill up a third of their total room capacity on average. Now, using dynamic pricing, they can offer, for example, a lower last-minute hotel room price, so they can fill up all the unused rooms in their hotels. The second application is webshops. Next to expiring goods, normal web shops also benefit from dynamic pricing. And Amazon is a prime example for this. Every 10 minutes they adjust their prices on their web shop. They base this on user behavior, on competitors' prices going up or down, and even analyzing real-world events. By doing so, Amazon increased their revenue by 25%. The third application is about multi-sided platforms. Also, in more complex situations, dynamic pricing can be very beneficial. For multi-sided platforms like Uber, Lyft or Airbnb, they not only have one customer group to satisfy, but two. In the case of Uber, that's the customer and the driver. The customer wants a low price to get from A to B, while the driver wants a very high fee for driving the customer there. In this scenario, Uber regulates the prices on the platform, so it's in their best interest to match as many customers with drivers and charge a high as possible price to get them from A to B to maximize for profit. Because the product for these kinds of platforms are not physical ones, but in the case of Uber, the availability of a driver, it is essential they make sure there's always a driver in the area to pick up the customer, as well as there should be enough customers for the drivers to give them jobs. With dynamic pricing, these platforms can handle surges of demand more easily, because a higher price does not only result in maybe higher profit, but it also results in a part of the customer group taking another form of transportation when the price gets too high and then it's too expensive. This way, the surge of demand gets smoothed out as some customers don't have to use the platform anymore. Thanks for watching the tech update by Bit about dynamic pricing, and I hope to see you in the next one.